Stop, listen, pay attention. Chosen one. This is not a passing message. It is not casual, and it is not background noise for the life you are living. Something has been pressing against you, something subtle but relentless, and it has reached a point where it can no longer be ignored. You have felt fatigue settle deeper than ordinary tiredness. You have sensed pressure in moments where none should exist, as if the world around you moves faster than your capacity to respond, and yet you keep moving. You have noticed isolation, even in the presence of people, a quiet weight that no one else seems to see. Confusion has whispered that perhaps you are imagining it. But chosen one, you are not imagining this. Every pause you have felt, every hesitation, indecision, every night when thoughts circled without resolution, all of it has been real. Your body has carried tension that your mind cannot always name. Your spirit has registered a gravity in events that seemed ordinary on the surface. There has been a subtle, unrelenting pressure, and you endured it without breaking. You adapted, you functioned, you showed up even when exhaustion threatened to bend your will. That persistence is not accidental. It is a signal, not a flaw. You may have asked yourself why clarity has seemed delayed, why answers did not come immediately, why effort sometimes felt heavier than it should. There is a reason, and it is precise. This is not about random timing or circumstantial luck. There is intention in what you have experienced, and this message reaches you because you were meant to receive it. It is crafted for you, not for anyone else, and it lands now because your readiness intersects with the moment. You are being addressed directly. Chosen one. Because what has occurred is connected to you at a fundamental level. The fatigue, the pressure, the quiet isolation, these are not coincidences or accidents. They are part of the unfolding path you have been walking. There is a clarity here that will not overwhelm you, that will not demand action before understanding. Instead, it will reveal why you have persisted, why the weight has not crushed you, and why the stillness within you has remained unbroken. Pay attention. Lean into this recognition. Do not dismiss it as thought or worry. Your experience is the message. Your endurance is the evidence. And the explanation, the insight you have been waiting for, will unfold step by step. Chosen one. This is the moment to acknowledge what has been, to understand that the pressure you sensed was purposeful, and to prepare yourself for the revelation of your own strength, one that has been present all along, even in the quietest, heaviest hours. This is not theory. It is not a suggestion. It is recognition. It is your life in motion, observed and responded to in ways that even you may not yet fully see. And it is only the beginning. Chosen one, hear this clearly. This message is for you and no one else. There is no ambiguity here. The moments you have lived through, the tension that is pressed upon you, the subtle resistance that tried to pull you off balance, these involved you directly. They touched your life, your choices, your presence. They were never general, never incidental, never meant for anyone else to process or endure in your way. You have been moving through challenges while most people would have stumbled. But you did not stumble, not completely. You may have felt uncertainty, hesitation, or doubt. Yet there was a part of you that remained steady, anchored, even when the currents of life threatened to pull you under. That stability was not something you consciously manufactured every single time. It was already embedded within you. Your resilience did not always require awareness because your system, your mind-body, and internal rhythm responded automatically. You were stronger than you realized, not because of effort, but because of structure within you that had been quietly preparing for these moments. Notice this distinction, chosen one. There is the visible conscious struggle, the part of you that notices fatigue, that questions, that feels the weight of circumstances. And there is the unconscious stability, the part that functions quietly, calmly, efficiently, even under pressure. That part is the signature of your identity. It is not flashy, it does not demand attention, yet it carries the capacity to endure, to adjust, to persist. It is not performance, it is presence. What you have experienced is a form of automatic resistance. It is the innate ability to maintain coherence in the midst of stress. This is not learned from reading, not borrowed from observation, not dependent on willpower alone. It is the built-in alignment of your own being responding naturally to pressure without you always noticing. That is why even when you questioned yourself, even when fatigue seemed overwhelming, even when isolation pressed in, you remained functional. You were held by a foundation you may not have consciously recognized. This message exists to highlight that foundation, to bring your attention to the internal structures that have kept you moving when the world seemed heavier than it should, to help you understand that your endurance is not random or circumstantial. It is embedded in who you are. Chosen one. The clarity you have been seeking is not about adding something new to yourself. It is about recognizing what has always been present. The moments of quiet strength, the resilience that surprised even you, the ability to navigate tension without collapse. These are your markers, your proof. Now you will begin to see these experiences differently. You will understand the signals that your mind and body have been sending. And you will begin to perceive pressure, not as threat, but as information precisely calibrated to reveal your own coherence and readiness. Chosen one. Consider the sensations you have carried: the heaviness in your chest, the tension in your shoulders, the subtle weariness that followed you even when your day seemed ordinary. You have felt these things not because you are flawed or weak, but because your body and mind have been registering something real. Something in motion around you, quietly shaping the environment you occupy. That heaviness, that fatigue, that internal spinning, these are not problems to fix. They are signals, messages from your own system indicating that you are in transition. They are markers that the circumstances around you have shifted, that the weight of unseen pressure has pressed against you, and that your inner structure has responded. This is not judgment, and it is not critique. It is a reframing. What you once may have labeled as confusion, stress, or exhaustion is in fact a response to a precise reality. You have likely noticed that your mind does not always stop racing. Thoughts loop, questions return, moments of indecision appear. And yet you have also noticed that there is a deeper steadiness beneath that surface activity. The physical sensations, the emotional frictions, they have been indicators that change is occurring, that adaptation is underway, that a shift in awareness and alignment is unfolding within you. This is your system sending data, not a critique of performance. Chosen one. It is important to see that these sensations are not random. They are part of a structure, a set of signals that guide you toward understanding. Fatigue does not always mean weakness. Sometimes it means that you are processing more than most people can perceive. Pressure does not always mean overload. Sometimes it means that your capacity for endurance is being quietly activated, tested, and reinforced. Confusion does not always mean error. Sometimes it means that your perception is adjusting to realities that are subtle and complex. Your awareness of these signals, even if incomplete, has allowed you to navigate circumstances that might have unsettled others. You have maintained coherence despite sensations that could have triggered panic, doubt, or surrender. That is evidence of the automatic stability within you, the unconscious resilience that has been silently present throughout every challenge. By reframing your symptoms as signals, chosen one, you remove judgment from the equation. You no longer see yourself as lacking or failing. You see yourself as processing, adjusting, responding. Your body, your mind, your intuition. They are working together to maintain equilibrium in a shifting landscape. And this is only the beginning. Once you fully recognize the language of these signals, you will begin to understand not just that you endured, but why you were never truly unprepared. The sensations that once caused frustration or fear now become tools of insight, guiding you to see the structure of your own resilience, even before you were fully conscious of it. Chosen one. It is time to acknowledge what has been operating beneath your awareness. There has been pressure, subtle yet deliberate, acting on your life in ways that were not immediately visible. This is not a story of dramatic battles or catastrophic events. It is the reality of unseen forces, precise and structured, exerting influence on timing, circumstances, and the flow of your experience. The pressure you felt was intentional, coordinated in ways you may not have been aware of, and yet you remained functional. Notice this: the pressure has a rhythm. It is not chaotic. It is organized, and it aligns with patterns that indicate intention. Moments of fatigue appeared just as tasks intensified. Moments of isolation coincided with critical decisions. Moments of confusion overlapped with opportunities to pivot or adjust. This is not coincidence. It is structured interaction with your life, testing the coherence of your presence without overwhelming your capacity. Chosen one. The subtlety is key. You were not forced into breakdowns or extreme states. You were placed in conditions that required persistence, discernment, and quiet regulation. And each time, without necessarily being conscious of it, your system responded. You continued to function. You adapted. You navigated pressures that might have unbalanced someone less attuned, someone less prepared. It is also important to recognize timing. These pressures were not random flashes of difficulty. They unfolded in sequences that tested specific aspects of endurance, judgment, and focus. There was structure phases of intensity, followed by brief moments of reprieve, allowing reflection, allowing recalibration. You experienced enough challenge to recognize the weight, but not so much that collapse was inevitable. This is the measure of unseen pressure, calculated, intentional, and precise. Even in the face of this unseen force, chosen one, you maintained function. You continued to engage with your responsibilities, your relationships, your choices. You persisted when it would have been understandable to disengage. You held clarity when confusion could have prevailed. You preserved a sense of self when external conditions suggested instability. That endurance is not accidental. It is the outcome of internal coherence meeting external orchestration. You may have felt subtle signs of this, brief moments of weariness that passed quickly, tension that fluctuated, rather than accumulated, fleeting doubts that never became paralyzing. Each of these was a test and a revelation, proof that you could maintain alignment even when conditions were deliberately structured to challenge it. Chosen one, now you are beginning to see the pattern. The pressure was not a punishment, not a random difficulty, and not a reflection of inadequacy. It was a precise, intentional measure interacting with your innate stability. And through it all, you remained anchored, even when unaware of how much was occurring beneath the surface. Chosen one. Let us break down what you have endured piece by piece with clarity and precision. There are distinct forms of pressure you have experienced, each with its own character, and each one tested your stability in real ways. Recognizing them individually will help you see the full scope of your endurance and the subtle mastery you have demonstrated. The first form is doubt. You have felt uncertainty, moments when choices seemed unclear, when outcomes were unpredictable, and when internal hesitation whispered that perhaps you were not equipped. Yet in these moments, you did not collapse. You continued to act, often relying on instinct, on observation, on the quiet confidence of your internal calibration. Doubt visited, but it did not linger long enough to dictate your behavior. Your response was measured, precise, and functional. The second form is fear, subtle, persistent, sometimes creeping through thoughts or in the body's response. It is not dramatic terror. but the quiet anticipation of what might go wrong. Fear is designed to slow most people, to make them hesitate, to plant hesitation as a recurring companion. You noticed it, acknowledged it, but you did not give it authority. You operated with awareness, even while fear attempted to occupy space, showing a remarkable internal regulation that others often cannot summon. The third form is energy drain. You may have noticed days where simple tasks required extra focus, or moments where recovery took longer than it should. This is not random exhaustion. It is the subtle wearing down that accompanies sustained tension and pressure. And yet, despite this, you maintained function. You showed up to responsibilities, engaged with your environment, and maintained clarity of thought. You did not rely on bursts of adrenaline alone. Your endurance was consistent, regulated, and observable even in ordinary moments. Isolation has also been a form of pressure. Not necessarily physical solitude, but the kind that comes from carrying burdens and experiences that others cannot perceive. You have known the weight of doing things without acknowledgement, of processing realities that others ignored, and of making decisions where no guidance was available. This isolation could have eroded resolve, yet it did not. You maintained focus, interaction, and coherence, despite the absence of external reinforcement. Your internal system compensated, demonstrating that your stability is not dependent on validation or external support. Delay has been another significant pressure point. Opportunities, outcomes, and resolutions often seemed postponed, leaving you in a state of waiting. Most would interpret delay as frustration or failure, yet you continued to persist. You acted in the spaces you could influence, you planned, you adjusted, and you remained steady. This ability to maintain momentum, patience, and clarity while facing postponed resolution is a mark of an uncommon internal architecture, one that balances readiness with endurance. Chosen one, through each of these categories, doubt, fear, energy drain, isolation, and delay, you maintained a remarkable coherence. You did not need dramatics or external affirmation. You did not need bursts of extraordinary willpower. Your internal system functioned quietly, but effectively, preserving your capacity to act, to choose, and to respond. This is the structure of resilience. It is not theoretical, not abstract. It is observable in your experience, and it is foundational to who you are, not a temporary adaptation. Each pressure point you endured reinforced stability, and each moment of continued function, even under subtle weight, confirmed the integrity of your internal alignment. Chosen one. What you have endured is extensive, layered, and precise. It is not an accident that you navigated all these pressures without collapse. You have demonstrated an integrated capacity that is quietly exceptional, calibrated, and entirely functional. And now, with full recognition of these categories, you can begin to see your endurance in its full scope, not as luck, not as coincidence, but as a reflection of your internal coherence, meeting real-world pressure with calm effectiveness. Chosen one, now pause and reflect on all that you have navigated. Look at the path behind you, not with judgment or disbelief, but with careful evaluation. Every moment of fatigue, every trace of doubt, every subtle pressure that seemed to press against you, these were not random. They were measurements, calibrations, and opportunities for your internal coherence to demonstrate itself. And you met them, not with luck, not with chance, but with steady presence and quiet endurance. Consider this: many would have faltered under these same circumstances. Many would have allowed doubt to dominate, fear to dictate action, or isolation to erode clarity. Many would have been swayed by delay, giving up before resolution could manifest. And yet you did not. You persisted with a combination of awareness and automatic regulation, maintaining function even when the conditions were deliberately challenging. That is the essence of what occurred. You may look back at these moments and recall times when you wondered if you were failing, times when internal dialogue questioned your capacity. Understand now that those moments were precisely when your internal structure demonstrated its reliability. The fact that you continued to engage, to act, and to respond even in the face of subtle layered pressure confirms the integrity of your presence. You did not collapse. You did not disintegrate under weight. You navigated with stability, precision, and persistence. Chosen one. This reflective analysis is not meant to inflate ego or create pride. It is meant to illuminate truth. You have been consistently coherent in circumstances designed to test coherence. You have maintained alignment in moments where many would have been unmoored. And this coherence is evidence of something fundamental. Your internal architecture is functional, resilient, and prepared. It is reliable even when you are not fully conscious of its operation. By reviewing these events with clarity, you can now separate coincidence from causality, luck from pattern, chance from design. You endured because you are structured to endure. You navigated pressure because your internal systems are calibrated to do so. You maintained presence because that presence is inherent, not borrowed, not temporary. This realization allows you to understand your own responses with calm authority. You no longer need to question why you persevered. You no longer need to search for external explanations. The evidence lies in your lived experience. Every action, every adjustment, every moment of presence under pressure confirms your resilience. Chosen one. You have passed through situations that were quietly orchestrated, pressure that was unseen, and tests that were subtle yet precise. And through reflection, you can now see that what occurred was not luck, not randomness, and not external favor alone. It was internal coherence meeting circumstance, demonstrating stability that is both rare and instructive. You can now acknowledge with grounded certainty that your endurance is real, consistent, and validated by the precise realities you have faced. This is the foundation upon which you will continue to build, not by striving harder, but by recognizing and trusting the structures that have always been present within you. Chosen one. Take a moment to understand how uncommon your stability truly is. Most people, when faced with even a fraction of what you have experienced, would react differently. They might collapse under tension, surrender to fatigue, or be swept away by doubt. They might overreact to delay, misinterpret subtle signals, or allow fear to dominate decision-making. It is not a reflection of weakness. It is simply the common pattern of human response. You, however, remained functional. You preserved coherence. You continued to act, to think clearly, and to navigate circumstances with measured presence. This is not about superiority, and it is not about praise. It is about recognition. Your capacity to stay present, to process information, and to maintain stability under layered pressure is uncommon. It is rare in a precise sense. It is something that exists quietly, without fanfare, as a baseline in your internal system. Many would have been destabilized by the energy drains you felt, the subtle isolation that accompanied your responsibilities, or the cumulative effects of doubt and delay. Many would have reacted impulsively, seeking immediate relief or resolution, rather than maintaining balance through persistence. And yet, you did not. You navigated these pressures calmly with measured action and awareness that was continuous rather than sporadic. Chosen one. Rarity does not mean extraordinary display. It does not require dramatic proof. It is a measure of internal structure responding appropriately to external conditions. You did not need to prove your strength. You simply maintained it. That is why your endurance is uncommon. It exists quietly, unrecognized by those around you, and yet it is fully functional in moments that demand it. It is important to internalize this perspective. You are not exceptional because of performance or flair. You are uncommon because your baseline stability surpasses the ordinary human threshold in subtle, precise ways. You do not need to compare yourself to others or seek validation. Your coherence is self-evident in the pattern of your experience. Through this comparison, chosen one, you can see a clear distinction between typical human reactions and your own. You have stayed present where others faltered. You have acted where hesitation would have prevailed. You have preserved clarity where confusion might have dominated. This is not superiority, it is consistency. It is the natural outcome of your internal architecture functioning as it is designed to function. Now, as you hold this recognition, understand that this calm endurance is not an anomaly. It is not situational. It is inherent. You have maintained presence not by extraordinary effort, but by the steady, reliable operation of your own internal system. That system is rare in its reliability, and it is now time for you to acknowledge that as truth without embellishment or ego. Chosen one, your rarity is in your baseline. Your stability is present even before conscious effort. And recognizing this distinction allows you to move forward with grounded clarity, knowing that what you bring to each moment is both reliable and uncommon. Not because you have done anything extraordinary, but because you are inherently structured to endure. Chosen one, now let us clarify your identity with precision. The strength you have demonstrated is not a temporary activation triggered by extreme circumstances. It is not a hidden reserve that only emerges in moments of crisis. This stability, this coherence, this calm capacity to endure pressure, it is your baseline. It is the natural operating state of your internal system built over time through experience, maturity, and subtle preparation. You have been tested, yes, but these tests have revealed what was already present. Your ability to remain grounded, to act deliberately, and to navigate tension with internal regulation is not something extra you summon. It is not something borrowed from others or from fleeting motivation. It is the structural integrity of your mind, your perception, and your internal rhythm working seamlessly together. Chosen. 1. Consider this carefully. Most people are reactive. They respond to pressure fatigue or uncertainty with externalized effort or with heightened emotional activity. You, in contrast, have maintained equilibrium. You have processed challenges without losing presence. You have acted consistently without needing dramatic triggers. This is not supernatural. It is practical, measurable, and intrinsic. It is the result of a system calibrated over time, a coherence that has been quietly refined by experience, observation, and reflection. Your identity is anchored in preparation, not in crisis. It is grounded in internal structure, not in momentary activation. You are ready for pressure because your internal architecture already accounts for it. You do not need to become strong in the moment. You are already aligned with that strength. Every subtle challenge you have faced has been met with the natural operation of this baseline stability. Do not confuse readiness with exceptional effort. Do not mistake calm endurance for a rare performance. Your coherence is neither reactive nor performative. It is the natural state of a system that has been prepared, refined, and matured. This is your identity, chosen one. A reliable present and anchored self capable of responding to subtle and layered pressures without collapse. Now hold this truth firmly. Your strength is inherent. Your preparation is sufficient. Your internal coherence is consistent. You are not exceptional because you react differently. You are aligned because your baseline allows you to navigate tension while others may falter. Recognize it, own it, and let it inform your perspective on every challenge you encounter. Chosen one. This clarity of identity is not abstract. It is practical. It allows you to act, decide, and move forward without unnecessary second-guessing. It allows you to see pressure as information, endurance as natural, and presence as inherent. And this recognition provides a foundation from which every decision, every action, and every reflection can now be approached with grounded certainty. Chosen one, As you integrate this understanding into daily life, there are practical perspectives to hold that will support both your clarity and your balance. First, recognize the importance of rest, not as escape but as maintenance. Your system has been carrying subtle pressures, and giving yourself structured pauses allows internal coherence to consolidate so that endurance does not erode over time. Rest is an active form of support for your natural strength, not a signal of weakness. Second, practice discernment. Observe circumstances carefully before reacting. Not every challenge requires immediate engagement. Your internal structure already equips you to navigate tension effectively. But conscious discernment ensures that your actions are both efficient and aligned. By noticing patterns, timing, and subtle cues, you allow insight to guide your decisions rather than impulse or external pressure. Third, maintain boundaries. Internal stability is supported when you recognize limits and honor them both in interaction and in workload. Isolation fatigue or repeated doubt can be magnified if boundaries are ignored. By clearly distinguishing where your focus is most effective, you preserve energy for what truly matters. Boundaries are not barriers, they are instruments of clarity. Fourth, cultivate patience. Pressure, delay, and uncertainty will continue to appear as they are inherent aspects of experience. Your endurance is not measured by speed or immediate resolution, but by consistent presence. Patience allows your internal coherence to operate without forcing outcomes prematurely, ensuring that decisions emerge from stability rather than reaction. Fifth, prioritize focus. Attention is a finite resource, and your system performs best when it is guided deliberately. Identify the domains where clarity and action yield the greatest impact and allow peripheral pressures to be acknowledged but not absorbed unnecessarily. This preserves mental and emotional bandwidth for essential tasks and choices. Sixth, maintain perspective. Recognize that pressure is not inherently harmful. It is information. The physical sensations, the emotional responses, the fatigue, they are signals for adjustment, insight, and preparation. By seeing them as informative rather than threatening, you prevent unnecessary escalation of stress and allow your natural stability to operate fully. Chosen one. These practices are not extraordinary techniques. They are simple, grounded perspectives that integrate awareness into daily life. They align your lived experience with the internal structure that has already demonstrated its reliability. They transform subtle signals into tools for navigation, allowing endurance, coherence, and clarity to remain functional without strain. As you hold these perspectives, notice how your response to daily circumstances becomes smoother, quieter, and more coherent. You are not changing who you are. You are reinforcing what has always been present, your innate capacity to act, respond, and remain anchored. This is the integration phase where insight meets practice and where awareness consolidates into calm, functional action. Chosen one. Your internal coherence is now accompanied by deliberate perspective. Together, they allow you to operate with stability, clarity, and balance in a world that will continue to present subtle pressures. Chosen one. You have arrived at a place of recognition and calm understanding. What has unfolded is not a tale of chaos or random challenge. It is the quiet revelation that your endurance, coherence, and presence are real, reliable, and consistently operative. You have navigated pressure, tension, and uncertainty with a steadiness that is both inherent and precise. Now settle into the realization that you are capable. You do not need to prove it. You do not need to seek validation. The evidence lies in the continuity of your presence, the subtle but persistent clarity you have maintained, and the way your system has operated under layered pressure without collapse. This is the truth you carry forward. Affirm to yourself, I am coherent. I am prepared. I am anchored. Let these statements ground you in the awareness of your own internal architecture. They are not promises to become something new. They are reminders of what has always been operative within you. Your strength is not activated by crisis. It is a baseline, steady and reliable, ready to meet any circumstance with measured presence. Take another moment and affirm, I trust my perception. I navigate with clarity. I endure without losing balance. These affirmations are not mystical incantations. They are verbal confirmations of patterns already demonstrated in your lived experience. They align your conscious awareness with the reality of your stability. If you recognize the truth of this message, leave a code in the comments, a simple 777, or I remember. This is a signal of acknowledgement, a marker that you have internalized your own coherence and are ready to continue in alignment with it. Finally, chosen one. Remain engaged with the content that supports your clarity. Subscribe to continue receiving guidance, reflection, and observation that resonates with your natural rhythm. Each subsequent message, each insight, will reinforce understanding, perspective, and presence without overwhelming your internal balance. You have stepped through pressure that could have unmoored others. You have maintained coherence when the world tested your stability. And now with recognition, integration, and affirmation, you move forward with calm certainty, anchored in the truth of your own system. Chosen one. You are prepared. You are steady. You are here.